And we are live. Joanna, thank you for Joanne. Not
Joanne,
Joanna.
yeah.
Joanne, thank you very much for joining me. So yeah, welcome to another video cast, which I'm loving. And we're about to start doing live, like the recruitment show live as well. We'll do LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, our website, all of that cool stuff. We finally got there's like a 2-3 week waiting list for LinkedIn to do the live thing. So but they won't be our only live platform. So anyway, so that'll be really fun. But anyway, Joanne, thank you very much for joining me. And for those that don't know, Joanne is an inclusion and belonging specialist, podcaster, HR, talent acquisition, keynote speaker, all around great girl. So thank you very much for joining me.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on. I've been looking forward to this for weeks. So yeah, really excited.
We bounced around a little bit. It was going to be face to face.
It was, yeah.
You didn't want to come see me face to face today. I don't know why.
I know, no. 2 meters apart. We could have had like a conversation across a cafe one day, but this is fine.
This is great.
Yeah, we're both at home, both relaxed. Yeah,
it's great. It's great. How have you found it? How have you found the last few weeks?
To be honest, I work from home quite a lot, and I have been for the last couple of years. So for me, the difference is I'm not going out having coffees like this, meeting people. So, but predominantly what I do, the business development side, the research, the developing things, is all kind of at home anyway. So for me, the only difference is I'm not earning money at the moment. So I'm doing all the same things I have done in terms of the profile marketing, social media, all that kind of stuff is what I do anyway. I just don't have the odd day out of the week meeting with clients. So at the moment, it's battened down and try and redevelop and reinvent my business as more online delivery. But it's been good fun. I'm really enjoying it.
It's cool. Have you found that customers are embracing the online training?
The people I'm speaking to aren't quite there yet. I've done a few webinars. I haven't started punting out my online delivery training. I'm reworking it. One thing I've realized is that the way you deliver online training is different to how you deliver face to face. People's attention spans, you've got to chunk it into smaller pieces. You need more slides but less on them.
Right.
You need to speak in a different way. You need to think about breakout rooms, more chat, more conversations, more human side. So yeah, I've delivered a couple, and I've learnt, and I'm going to be delivering a few more. Some of them around my core topics, but also some of them around remote working, how to use Zoom, how to use online tools, how to get your camera set up, that kind of stuff.
Nice. Do you know I'm about to upgrade my camera, so I'm going to ask you for your help. I'm doing more streaming stuff. I've got my my Canon EOS 50. I'm going to start to use for like
you can. Yeah, that's a very good camera you can use. Yeah.
I'm going to start. How have you found delivering training online? Because like face to face, you get like the immediate feedback, don't you? Like I don't know, eyes looking somewhere else, or you can just see someone's engaged or not. With the Zoom thing, you got like a million people in the room and no idea like the feedback.
No, and I've also noticed that when people are on courses or on training like that, the first thing they do is they turn their camera off. I mean, because you're the presenter, you're the speaker. Why do they want to have their camera on? So I've noticed that quite often people go straight into the room and turn their camera off. Also, that they turn them. Obviously, normally you mute the mic anyway, so you mute the mic and they turn their camera off. So you really are presenting to a group of boxes with names in them.
Brilliant.
There's the odd person who leave their camera on, and occasionally you can glance a nod or a smile coming out of one of the little boxes. But it's as a professional speaker, as a keynote speaker, as a trainer, you get so used to that human interaction, so used to that feedback that you get, and it's kind of a bit distressing. You don't get that gratification, you don't get that buzz out of presenting to a bit of glass. It's like Black Mirror. It's just I've just presented to me. I'm just talking to me, and the danger is you find yourself. I describe it as, imagine blowing into a balloon. And you feel the air going into the balloon grows. You've got that feedback as the balloon grows. But presenting like this is like blowing into a straw. you don't know when to stop. You've got no way of pacing yourself. You just keep puffing and puffing and puffing. And before you know it, you've kind of talked yourself out and you end up dry throated. So you've got no way you've got to try and learn to pace, to imagine someone behind the camera. So you're talking to this imaginary person that is your, I sometimes suggest to people, put a teddy bear behind the screen or something and present to the teddy. But it's about learning how to pace yourself, how to learn to break, how to make sure that you don't race ahead. And so there's a whole lot of techniques, but it is. And I've had many trainers and speakers finding it a really real struggle because their need for human interaction is great, and you don't get it. So you've got to try and readapt your expectations. The fact that people turn their cameras off, that's their choice. Doesn't matter. I've got to be the best me I can be. I can't control how they, at the other end, interact with me. I can't dictate to them, say, you must put your camera on, you must do this, you must. I've just say, this is me. This is how I'm going to run the session. I'd love you to engage. From time to time, I'm going to switch your mics on and maybe do some breakout rooms and let's have a chat. And they go, okay, I'll have a chat. I'll get a coffee and have a chat with you. So yeah, I think the way you spoon feed people, the way you have to explain how to use Zoom every time, explain about the rules, whereas normally you just get up in front of people and talk. Marshalling people into breakout rooms, marshalling people back from breakout rooms, you have to. It's another skill. And the other thing I've realised is if you imagine the old one-person performer, the musician outside the train station. They've got the big drum on their back, they've got the little cymbals on their knees, the trumpet. So they're playing all the instruments to try and make the song up and try and sing. So as a video trainer, it's like that one-man performer with the drums and banging. So you've got to speak and do keyboards and worry about this and worry about the sound level. So it's a real struggle sometimes. And I often advise people that if you can, get a co-host, someone who could do the marshalling, someone who could do the intro, someone who could do the different camera angles, all the other sort of things. So yeah, it's a new technique, and it's been fun. And you asked me if I've started doing any of these yet. I think yes, I have. I've done a few test ones, but I'm developing my style, developing my method. So you've got to reinvent yourself, and that you can't. You can't do that. You can't wing it live. You've got to practice.
You mentioned rules. And they're like, I know that this seems like there's some unwritten rules are starting to form, or etiquette maybe. Is that what you mean?
Join with your mic muted, kind of thing. Rather than everyone try and talk at the same time, use the raise hand feature, or even just hold a bit of paper up in front of the screen so they can see it's you, and then just get used to that sort of thing. Don't dominate the microphone. Don't start off with a big monologue before you ask a question. So all the standard stuff we want anyway. But it's how the breakout rooms work, what the join instructions are, if we're going to have a break, how quickly you come back. And then you've got to learn yourself is if you say you're going to start in 5 minutes, you just crack on. You don't go, we'll wait for one more person. Well, we'll wait for another person. And then the person rejoins and you say, oh, you've missed this bit and recap. Because otherwise you find yourself recapping 20 times. So you've literally got to say, right, start at 9, 9:15, we're going to have a 5-minute break, back at 20 past, and we're going to carry on. And you literally, as a presenter, you've just got to learn to be as friendly, as inclusive as you can. But you can't marshal everybody because you've got no control over them. I think that's the hard bit. You get used to sort of people do as you say when you're in front of them. This time they just turn the camera off. You don't even know if they're still there watching sometimes.
You always hear, like, as a joke before, someone's on a conference call. I used to call someone and they used to answer and they were like, oh, sorry, I'm just on a conference call. I can't be too long. Well, why did you phone to me? And you're on the conference call. A lot of people mute and switch off or they do other things. I mean, it's almost impossible not to look at your emails or something while you're on.
I find people go into podcast mode where they'll put the webinar onto screen 2, putting their outlooks up, and they'll just be listening. And then suddenly you hear this. So I'll let you get on with that. Then I'll put you into breakout rooms. Everyone's going, "What did he say? What did you say? What did you say? What's going on?" everyone listened to what we were saying, and then you get everyone's in this breakout room going, "Well, I don't know what we're supposed to be doing. Well, I've no idea what we're supposed to do. Let's have a quick chat." And then you go back into the plenary. How did you get on with that? Oh, yeah, it's really good. Yeah, we had a great discussion. Yeah. so I think that's the art of the presenter. Is you've got to try and create this engaging content. You've got to try and get people to interact, and even if it is get people to write silly things on post-its and hold them up and just make them involved with it. Because if you just expect people to listen to you for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, just bombarding them with stuff, it's not going to work. So you've got to be more creative and make more games about it. And so if they're not watching you, they're missing out. They'll go, hang on, I missed that.
Yeah. It's creative. It's a good time for it to innovate.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, completely. Yeah, and that's part of what I'm playing with at the moment. Just trying to develop these skills, do a few tests.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I had a similar thing with my podcasting. I mean, I only ever podcasted live with people. Like if I invited someone onto the podcast, they had to be in the UK, prepared to come to my office, come and sit in front of my amazing Rode mic and mics and engage with me. You know, a nice chat. We used to video it, but nothing too serious. It wasn't live, and suddenly, as I said before at the beginning, no one wants to come see me right now. No. So now it's been an opportunity to do video casts like this, and it's opened up the whole world to me.
Yeah, there's people anywhere.
It's amazing. Yeah, I've got an amazing lady who runs a very big pharma company coming on to talk about what they're up to with COVID and loads of cool stuff. And I'm going to continue doing it. I think it's brilliant. You know, I'll do a mixture of the face-to-face. I'm going to do the live. It's fun. It almost, these trends were happening anyway. And what's happened with, I feel anyway, with COVID is it's just submersed us. And it's accelerated. It's almost like a steroid injection into some of these trends that have been kind of getting more popular anyway. Like the work from home thing. I mean, I did a panel discussion on working from home maybe 5 weeks ago. You know, and everyone's like, really, businesses should embrace working from home. And, you know, why don't some managers let people work from home? You know, all of these things that like 5-6 weeks ago were kind of very like topical. Now, well, we've all been submersed in it, so we've had our fill. It's going to be interesting to see. I
spoke at a conference in January, I think it was. It seems like a lifetime ago. Probably the last time I went out. So, Christmas, we're missing out the whole of the middle bit. But no, I was at a conference, and someone from a large UK bank, which everyone would have heard of, was talking about how their department has suddenly or recently been allowed to work from home. And it was almost like they'd earned the right. You know, they've been a good department, they were good people, we've worked on this, we've tested it, and we can now trust you to work from home. And then the same person said, well, there's a lot of other departments we're not quite ready for yet. We don't think they'll be able to work from home. We just don't think that their work is going to work for them. It's like, I bet now that everyone's going, well, just get out there, go home, we'll figure this out. So all of these rules, all of these you can't things, the managers who are insecure, if I can't see you, I can't trust you.
Yeah.
All that's now changed. It's kind of, the default is now you are working from home. Unless you're obviously a machinist and you can't literally
we've got an NHS worker or something like that.
But if you're computer based, you can work from home.
How do you think these same managers are coping with engaging with their employees now, and the Zoom calls, or they're hosting their virtual team daily catch-ups, and it's quite
it's a different thing. And when I spoke at a conference seminar last week, and when I speak to people, what I see is that you can't assume a manager or a leader has any more skill in remote working and how people remote work than the remote workers themselves. So it's almost like incumbent in the entire organization to say, let's do a skills analysis. Let's say, just because the senior manager X is senior and has worked from home doesn't mean to say they're skilled in motivating, encouraging, nurturing, and looking after people in a work from home environment. So I think many are struggling the same as their team and their staff.
Yeah.
They have got their own anxieties. They've got their own challenges. It's because working from home at the moment is not working from home as it was 5 weeks ago. In 5 weeks ago, we'd sit on the sofa, we'd prop ourselves up, we maybe nip to Starbucks, we'd we probably wouldn't be working from home when our partner or children or other people were in the house. We probably
Yeah.
have the house to ourselves.
Yeah.
Now we're working from family. We're not working from home. We're working from family, and we've got parent A, parent B, child 1, 2, and 3, all working for different people with different priorities, different needs, different boredom thresholds. So all this dynamic is going on that affects people differently. And what I try and encourage people to think about is you can't own somebody 9 till 5 anymore. What you have to say is, I want to take what you can give me in chunks. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to get upset if you've got your children, you've got a home ed, you've got to cook, clean, whatever you've got to do, answer the door, worry about sick relatives, go shopping when you have to, queue up for 3 hours. Best time to do that is midweek at 10 o'clock in the morning or something, wherever that may be. And say, I understand that you're having a really tough time at home. This is the output I'm after. I don't need you to be sat in front of the screen 9 to 5. I need you to just deliver this by Friday.
Yeah.
And make these catch up calls and keep us updated on Slack or whatever you're going to do. WhatsApp. Be more asynchronous. So we're not looking to micromanage. So we need to be able to bite chunks off of tasks and deliver them asynchronously, and not expect people to be online all the time.
Yeah, 100%. I've spoken to a lot of CEOs recently, and the overriding general consensus is that for parents with kids at home, with both parents working, they're expecting about 4 hours a day.
Mm.
You know, like that people tend to do shifts. So, you know, whatever, mum, dad, or wherever,
Mm.
morning, partner the afternoon, and then maybe you get a little bit of a few hours in once the kids are in bed or something. Because parents have like 3 jobs now. They've got like their work job, day job, they're a parent, and then they're a home teacher. And so, but also so that's, I think, what some businesses, and not all, but more and more are kind of getting around to. But also as an employee, it's quite weird. I speak to a lot of people who are just trying to get their heads around, either they're working more than they were before, right, because there's nothing else to do, or they're feeling guilty that they're not working enough because they've got kids and they can't do it, and what's their boss going to think, and they're not being productive enough. Then a lot of industries are in quite a lot of trouble, you know. So if you're not working and doing good work, they're a bit scared of being made redundant or whatever it might be. So there's a lot of different dynamics going on right now, just people trying to get their heads around.
Yeah, because not every client is working, not every supplier is available. So you've got to be adaptive. You've got to look for new work streams. You've got to look for new ways of working. And I think the first few weeks we were doing this, we were all kind of. I often say it's like when you move out from home for the first couple of weeks, you sort of survive on jacket potatoes and beans on toast, and then you think, actually, this is now forever. I'm going to have to cook some proper meals. I'm going to have to sort of buy stuff and do this properly. I can't just. This is not a camp for 3 weeks where I can survive. So I think maybe in the early days we were kind of having this work from home thing where you say on your knees, cushion on your lap, working away, bit of Ken Bruce in the background. And now people go, hang on a minute, no, this is going to be 6 months. This is long term. I can't sit on the dining room chair anymore because this dining room chair isn't designed to be sat on for 8 hours. So I need to go and get myself a proper chair. I need for my monitor. I need a stand. I need a proper wireless mouse for my laptop. I can't huddle. I need a decent webcam. So all people are going to start to go. So this is not just working from home. This is working remotely, and I think we need to distinguish working from home and working remotely. This is a different paradigm. This is for people who maybe been working remotely for many years. They've got the home office set up. They've got everything geared up. And many people are just literally prop themselves up in a corner somewhere. So they've got to now adjust this. And now we've got 3 generations around the kitchen table, all sharing broadband, we're all trying to Zoom, trying to Skype at the same time and things. It's kind of like all this noise bleed. And you say, we've got parents being parents, we've got partners being partners. Single parents with children, they're really unproductive and really struggling. And
100%.
And there are, in many situations, and I don't want to go into majority or try and quantify it, but there are many women who are disproportionately burdened by home admin and education than sometimes a male parent would be. And I don't want to generalize or discount the major contributor that many male parents give, but it's often the responsibility of some of that's cultural, some of that's generational, and the fact that some people are really worried about their parents or their carers for elderly relatives having to go shopping for them. There's this whole dynamic which can burden women more than men. And again, I'm not trying to generalize. There's many men out there going, hang on a minute, I'm doing all of this. And so I'm not trying to say men don't do this. It's just, if you look at statistics, the statistics are probably more biased in favor of men having an easier time than women. That's all I'm saying. So don't shoot me and flame me down for this.
No. Or just, different tasks.
Yeah, different tasks.
Yeah, just different tasks. I mean, well, we've our kids have been on half term or end of term, Easter holidays. But my wife works in the NHS in intensive care, so when she's working, she's not working at home. So if my kids are off, I'm not working. I'm looking after them because they're quite young. We won't just. So it's interesting. Like I think for managers, the ones who certainly were like, my team can't work from home, and now they're working from home. It's I think just appreciating everyone's in a different scenario. Like some people on their own, and the mental health aspect as well goes up and down, right? Like some people are on their own and not comfortable being on their own, and you just got to watch out for people, because when they're at work, you can get feedback, like non-verbal, like the body language and everything. But when someone's on a video call, but camera off, or they've shared it, because you can't force someone to put the video on, right? They might just not be feeling like it, or they've whatever. Just watching out for people is a tough one.
Yeah, I talk to people and they kind of buddy up. They have a COVID buddy that they check on each other, like a matrix of buddying. So you all sort of are you okay type questions. And if you haven't heard from somebody, you just be a bit proactive. I encourage sort of organisations to hire. I don't mean hire necessarily in terms of paying somebody, but appoint somebody as your minister of fun. Somebody who's the cheerleader, someone who's going to go out there and motivate and keep people interested, because that's a very important role. It's not take that out of management responsibility and put that into someone who's just going to, the person who would normally organise the Christmas party, just go and make them, organise the Zoom calls, do the warm up, do the creative stuff, make Fridays happen, do the quizzes. And create that social atmosphere that you get at work anyway. The coffee machine chat, the cooler chat, the lunchtime chats. That's what people are missing, and because some people are, their home situation can be really, really intense. Domestic situations, as you say, mental health. It can be a real pressure, and people need often used to go to work for respite from home. And let alone the people who, we used to value extroverts in the office, didn't we? We used to say, we really value the bouncy, enthusiastic,
and
now those sort of people are bouncing off the walls like a rubber ball.
I get my energy from people.
All the introverts are sitting there going, "But cool, just leave me alone. I'm fine." The extroverts are going berserk. Yeah,
you're right. It's funny. I speak to some people that are probably more introvert. They're like, "Yeah, it's great. Thank goodness I'm not getting distracted by people annoying me at my desk, ask me what I did on the weekend or something." But that said, the sad thing is that certainly I know the US stats, like they were saying, I think suicide rates from depression's gone up 300%, calls to helplines 1,500%. So there is an issue around that, and I think certainly managers and companies can play a part in making sure people are all right in some way. I guess engaging on the phone and video is one thing.
But I think the other challenge is that I've spoken to many people who've been furloughed, and some people have had a different experience. Some people have felt part of the team, but there's a number of people who've been furloughed who've literally just been excommunicated. You're on furlough, not even been spoken to. They've had one letter at the beginning, tell them to sign here to accept the terms and conditions of the furlough, etc., and then they haven't heard from them again. They get their paycheck and go, "Yeah, I'm still being paid. That's good, but what's going on?" So it's a very variable experience where some people are feeling rejected. They're feeling this real sense of loss. Why me? 2 weeks ago, I was really important to the business, and now you're saying you don't need me? What?
Yeah, you're right. Some people from the team have been furloughed, others haven't. A lot haven't communicated well. Do you know, also there's a lot of varying behavior from companies and people, and it will come out in the wash. If you behave well and you treat your employees properly, it's going to stand you in great stead, because the market will turn, and a company's made up of people.
But this is why we said at the beginning, I don't think many leaders have the tools in their toolbox to handle this. That they were leading from a traditional command and control way. They weren't leading from a matrix management or networking. They weren't used to managing people in this way and showing empathy and really caring. They were kind of just get on with it, just get on with it, just get on with it. They've got to adapt quickly to realise the impact.
Yeah.
And that's I don't think we should blame the person,
No.
because they haven't got those tools. The organisation needs to recognise this and put the effort into helping these people in the same way we expect them to help other people. They have to be helped as well.
That's true.
And the head of HR, the people person, the culture person, whoever is in that people role, should be focusing on all levels and not assume that some people should just be able to get on with it, because they could be struggling as well. They may have had a sickness in the family. They may have lost a major income. Just because someone's on a high salary doesn't mean to say they don't spend a lot of money as well. They may be in a bonus culture.
Absolutely.
They may have lost all their clients, and therefore they're not getting their bonuses, or their partner may have been laid off or furloughed. So they may have their own challenges of parenting. So when you're worrying about all of that in your head, thinking about all your people and motivating them and that, it doesn't always work.
100%, 100%. So a bit more empathy and a bit more kindness for everyone.
Yeah, vulnerability. I think being honest. I'm struggling. I don't know. I've never done this before. Team, help me. Put it out there and say, how do you want to be interacted with? What's going to work for you? I'm no expert. How can we do this together? And those kind of open, help me type questions are great. And ask people what they're feeling. Revisit the employee engagement surveys and understand how people are feeling. If they don't want to share, they may well tick a box.
Yeah.
But also, the other thing I think when you're doing employee engagement, it's really important to understand the demographics. So who's feeling, who's having a negative experience, rather than saying, well, everyone looks okay, but you miss the fact that certain groups, single parents, lone workers, people struggling financially, so you maybe need to ask different questions. Are you okay financially? Is your mental health okay? Not is the food at the canteen okay?
It's almost a bespoke
COVID,
bespoke for each of your team.
Yeah,
you can't assume that everyone's cool or everything works for everyone.
No, and I think there's so many different. I specialise in diversity and inclusion. I think belonging, inclusion, fitting in. You've got to feel passion and purpose for your organisation. What's the short term? What's the goal? What are you trying to do? If I know the company's struggling, but we're going to get there, I'm going to go, right. Keep going. I'm with you. So you've got to feel that empathy. It's great if you work for a major organisation and things are really busy, in which case you haven't noticed a change.
That's true.
I've got a couple of friends who work for major telecoms companies, and they just literally, the only thing that's changed for them is they don't go out. And they've got kids at home, but predominantly, parent A and parent B are still working in different rooms in the house. One's in one office, one's in a bedroom, working away, as busy as anything. And their experience of the lockdown is just boredom from not going out. Whereas a lot of other people, it's a whole load of going on.
You're right. I mean, if you're just two of you at home, still employed, earning the same money, I mean, you've got more money in your pocket at the end of the month because you're not going out. And you're just not doing that commute. You've got more time. You're like, how do I spend my extra X number of hours? It's quite interesting. The group that that needs to be spoken more about. And actually, if you go into the city, I live really close to the city. So when I do a little run and walk and stuff, and really the people that are out are the low paid workers, like cleaners, security guards, builders,
supply chain,
like really holding the country together. Often looked down upon by people earning more money, but, and they shouldn't be, and they're doing such a great job putting themselves out. I mean, it's great, and their lives, it continues. They're still going to work. They're
busy. They're busy in anything in a higher risk scenario, with risk of infection, And I heard people at the beginning say, "Oh, if we have to stay locked in, it's okay. I'll just order everything I need off Amazon or click and collect." And you think, well, who's going to be putting it in the basket? Who's going to be loading the shelf? Who's going to be assembling? So it's almost like this privilege, this sort of mentality. I've got a mouse, and I'm just going to click on something, and it will arrive by magic, without thinking about all the people involved in that process that are having to put themselves at risk.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are just, they're cowering at home. I mean that, but just a little bit of time spent thinking about people that are keeping it together. The Ocado delivery, the Amazon, who I heard are hiring another 75,000 people on top of the 100,000 that they've already. I don't know if they've hired them all already, but whatever. So there's pockets that pockets that are doing well. I've got a great guy in my area who he's got a gin brand and he sells to the local pubs, which are obviously shut. So he's pivoted and he does cocktail delivery to your door.
Okay.
Amazing. If you like cocktails. So it's great. So we went on, he's on WhatsApp, he's got a menu. So I like WhatsApped him. I want like these 2 cocktails. So he makes them in bottles. There's enough for four like glasses each bottle.
Okay.
And delivered them, transferred in the cash. Brilliant. There's some really cool stories where people are having to just pivot and innovate, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's always, I think I read so much of negative stuff in the papers, right? It's always a negative slant. Oh, the NHS haven't got enough PPE, they haven't, etc. When if you speak to some frontline people, they're doing the best they can. There's some real success stories around the country pulling together, universities 3D printing PPE, like lots of cool stuff going on. It's just a shame that positive news doesn't sell.
But I like to see behind the headline. Yes, but there's PPE shortages, and when we talk about PPE, we've got face masks, we've got goggles, we've got plastic screens, we've got uniforms, we've got aprons. Some of this you can't just sew. You've got to have material. You've got to have some sort of quality control. You can't just make face masks out of any old bed sheet. So
No.
you've got to get the base materials to people. Then you've got logistics supply chain. You've got to get it into the chain. You've got to somehow distribute it. So it's not just about manufacture. It's the whole process of raw materials supply. And you just think, I get the fact we'd all love it to be better, and I get the fact it's dangerous. I get the fact we've got to do something quickly. But it's not just a case of going, well, let's just push the button and make it happen quicker. There's an entire infrastructure around the globe and in the UK.
Yeah, it takes time. I mean, my wife, as I said, my wife's on an ICU, and they have enough equipment. I mean, the honest truth is it's variable. Some hospitals have enough, some departments have enough, some don't. The cool thing is that there's a lot of things going on to make more. There's a positive, if you look for it, there's some good positive things going on and good initiatives, and it would help everyone's mindset if we started to read a bit more about those success stories.
Yeah, I think you just look at the questions on the daily briefings, and they're all negative questions, aren't they? It's can we beat people up after the event? We don't need to beat people up now. It's like,
just let them do their thing.
Yeah, get on with it. Yeah, I see there's so much pressure now on when are we going to come out of lockdown? What's the timescales for schools? What's the thing? And then the first thing that happens is, when we talked about this PPE from Turkey not being delivered yesterday, people say, what's the point giving us a date if you can't stick to it? Well, because you kept asking for a date. So you want a date, we gave you a date, and this is what we're working to, but things change. So if you want to know when the school's going to open, we're not going to give you a date. Well, why can't you give us a date? Because if we give you a date, it may change. So people want a date and then moan about it when the date's not right. So there's no certainty. There's no certainty in this world, is there?
No. I used to work in manufacturing. I used to make clothes for a lot of the big high streets, and things get delayed. We had to discount all the time. Day late, slash the price, color slightly wrong. I mean, things happen in the supply chain in the best of times. When you're talking about in the current scenario, I mean, you have to take a bit of a breath and just really realize everyone's doing the best, even the government. And obviously people love to hate on governments. The one thing is that they're trying to do the best they can for the people in the country. And it's extraordinary times.
My background's IT. I used to do IT services for small businesses, and so I've been around software, hardware, installations, and projects. And people always say, when their system crashed or broke or something, they say, "I need a date when it's going to be back." I said, "Well, if you need a guarantee, it will be 2 weeks, but I'll do everything I can to get it back for tomorrow. But if you want a guarantee, it's 2 weeks." It's like, and then tomorrow, day after, it was as quick as we could. But it's
right. Under promise, over deliver.
Yeah, but software, you look at people like Apple, they never quote features until the features have been beta tested and signed off. It's like, these are the kind of things we're working on, but don't guarantee it, and they don't.
Well, it's like, the Chancellor, who I think is doing a fantastic job. He's got the furlough scheme, which we're speaking on the 20th of April. This will be released a little bit after, so there'll be hindsight. But the furlough scheme website went live today. So hopefully companies will get the money by the end of April.
Yes.
But that's got up and running in like 3 weeks. And also the government loan schemes as well are really quick. And government are notorious for taking a long time with things. So, when they put their mind to it, they can do it.
But even you look at even taking supermarkets, you look at click and collect, you look at the deliveries. All the websites were showing a queue and 90,000 people in the queue, and it's like they're just not geared up for it. And people, the stat I liked was that generally when people buy from supermarkets, they're buying 60% of what they consume. The other 40% comes from eating out, i.e., you buy lunch when you're at work, you go for a pub, you go for takeaways, you do other things. So supermarkets are now providing 100% of the food, not 60%. So that is why a lot of the times we got supply issues. Companies were buying toilet rolls. Now people are buying toilet rolls. So the logistics and supply chain was just not geared up for it. So it's every different pressure point is being uncovered. And it's all very well for people to say, "Oh, you should have known better." Well, how could you know better? Or we should have planned for a pandemic. Well, yes, ideally we should have planned for a pandemic, but the cost of that to the country of having all this stuff just in case. Because I used to quote and work with people on disaster recovery for their IT, and you can only plan on high risk likely events. You can't plan on what would happen if a train jumped off the track 3 miles away, crashed into the substation, and took the road out. Well, how likely is that? Well, it's pretty remote. It's going to be pretty drastic if it does happen, but it's not going to happen really. So you kind of put that to one side. What's the chance of a pandemic wiping the world out and causing us not to go out for 6 months? Well, that will never happen. It's like,
you just things you don't know. It's like, when will, and this will happen, a meteorite hit the Earth again. It's happened loads of times. Or one of our super volcanoes is going to erupt at some point. It has done loads. Just these unlikely things that happen once in a lifetime. I mean, on the PPE, no country has quite enough. I mean, so
no
I think
one had enough ventilators. No one had enough PPE.
No, there's actually a doctor in the US. Sorry to interrupt you. A doctor in the US who's saying now that actually ventilators are not the way to treat COVID patients, which is quite interesting. So
I heard that, because the forced ventilation is damaging lungs. So what they need is low pressure ventilation, isn't it? Because you don't want to. It's not the same kind of pneumonia. It's different.
Yeah. It actually presents as what's the word? When you go down in the water and
or bends.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Similar.
Like decompression where you got.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, similar to that. It's they're still trying to find out and understand how to treat it.
I mean, we moan about the UK, but I was speaking to a good friend in Poland and someone in South Africa last week, and their lockdown regimes are so much tighter than ours. South Africa, for example, you can only buy essential items. So literally, alcohol has been removed from the shelves. In the supermarkets, there's nothing but essential food. Everything else has been stripped off. They've got armed guards on street corners. They've got helicopters, army helicopters and police helicopters patrolling everything, and they're literally bundling people back and arresting them and locking them down. So we're trying to decide whether we can walk along in the park or not, whether we go to Tesco's and buy alcohol or whatever else we want to do while we're there, or queuing up at B&Q to do some to buy some potted plants so we can have some fun in the garden on the weekend. We're moaning about that, but we are far more lax in terms of lockdown than many countries out there.
Oh yeah.
And we're still moaning.
Well, the Brits love a good moan. I
Yeah,
mean,
we do.
it's classic. Weather, tube, Brexit, and now COVID. Well, that
COVID.
my grandma lives in Cape Town. I was supposed to be there right now. Actually, got quite a fun. But yeah, for the population and for their society, right? Really good thing to do. And I think they're one of the, at the moment anyway, one of the success stories of dealing with the virus, because they've managed to contain it really well. My grandma's locked down in her old age home, and they're not letting anyone in or out. But no, you're right. You're right. I think we've got a lot to be grateful for here. I mean, we can get a cardo delivery, although it takes a little bit longer than normal. Netflix, entertainment on demand. All of I mean, I'm in London. All of the supermarkets are fully stocked. Everything's fully stocked here. Like you don't need to worry about anything. Like you can walk to the shops and you can wait in line and you can buy your thing. And like we're really privileged here. We have an NHS that's fantastic. Like if you need care, you can get care, and there's a lot to be grateful for.
There is, yeah. As a society, we the strategy we've been living under is to protect the NHS, so create capacity. And everything I hear is that we have capacity. People aren't being turned away. The NHS isn't being asked to make tough decisions. So if you need it, you need it. And even if you need non-COVID priority care, heart attack, all the other stuff, there's still capacity to help people in the business as usual NHS as well. And I think if nothing else, then we're not dying because there's no capacity, which is, I think, is the important thing. The government is basically keeping people alive.
Yeah, no, definitely. What do you think the post-COVID era is going to look like, work-wise? Are we going to be back to normal, in inverted commas, the pre-COVID, or do you think there'll be a fundamental change in the way we work now?
I think to a large extent, it depends on the mindset of the organisation. There are a lot of people who are literally making do, hoping for things to go back to the way they were. I think the biggest change will be the people, the staff, the employees, the people, how they will see work in the future, how they will want to go back. They will have had a taste from working from home. They'll have had a taste. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. There are people I've met who can't wait to go back to the office environment. They miss this interaction. Yeah, they want to be back with their colleagues. They don't want to be working. Yeah, they don't want to be with their kids and their wives and partners and everything. So they're really, really keen to get back. But I think people want to keep the best of both worlds. They'll want the option, and I've heard people talk about having one day in the office a week, but then you don't get the best of both worlds if you've got to go back into the office. Can you get rid of the office? Do we look at more regional co-working spaces? Like a network or WeWork type things where people from various different companies will be more comfortable working from hotels. Maybe they'll invest. Maybe the coffee shops will up their game to provide a fast start. If you look for people who don't want to commute back into London, let's have some proper co-working spaces so you can get out your home. I know a number of hotels were doing this. I did some work at a village hotel. They had proper co-working spaces.
Really? Right.
Yeah. So you don't feel like you got to drink one cup of coffee and an hour and to keep you going.
It's the kind of like the Mac Brigade in some of the That's interesting.
But formalise it rather than you feeling guilty for hugging one cup of coffee. Pay a tenner a day and check into a proper place, or 15 quid, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And maybe those will become more formal. Maybe there's an appetite. I appreciate some of these co-working spaces, some of these coffee shops. Really got to find a new business model, because pubs and clubs won't be open. Will coffee shops be allowed to open? But if you call them remote working clubs, maybe they've got a chance to open, so you can create desks 2 meters apart. And
that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Will you still?
Will work go back? I don't know. I see a lot less conferences, a lot less people traveling, product demos, big vendors, big expos with vendor demonstration. Do we really need them? Was it kind of case of, well, we do this every year, we'll keep doing it? I don't know. I'm sure some of the event organisers would want to try and get them back online, but the ones that have gone virtual, they're probably getting as much engagement. They can charge for replays. They can chop the content up. They've got more control.
Yeah, the co-working stuff is really interesting. I mean, for sure, in the City of London, You know, we're in London. I mean, it's like probably it's £100 a square foot plus rates plus rents, whatever. I mean, it's expensive. The co-working spaces are like 700 to £1,000 a desk or something. But it's expensive if you've got a, you know, if you're a big company with a lot of space. I mean, you don't need it. A lot even recently, even like the last few years, a lot of companies haven't had enough desk space for their employees. Which so we've been, as I said, it's been a trend, but now it's just got a shot of, it's on steroids now, and you can definitely see some of the stuff you've described happening. The one thing though is that I still feel humans are like, you know, we're tribal animals. We need human contact. Whether you're extrovert or introvert, at some point you need human contact. And you know, it's different. Like when you're with your team, like in person, or someone comes in and you're like, all right, mate, how you doing? How you feeling today? What was your weekend like? I still feel we need a degree of that. It doesn't have to be 5 days a week.
No, but what you're saying there is taking the old paradigm, the old way of thinking, and saying, how do you make the old way work again?
Yeah.
Actually, if I'm not commuting to London, I'm not working in London, and I've got, let's say, 4 hours a day more than I ever had before. Maybe what I'm doing is spending more time with my family. Maybe what I'm doing is spending more time with my friends. Maybe I'm able to get involved with a community project. Maybe I can volunteer. We do something in our village. We do something in our town. Maybe I don't need work to give me that gratification. If I'm sat here all day, at 4 o'clock I stand up and I go and do something with my local town, my local village. I can get involved with community service. I can help reinvent. I mean, let's face it, for the next 3 or 4 years, we've got a lot of rebuilding to do. I can get involved with the local rebuilding project. I can help with homeless people. I can give my skills in a voluntary way. So maybe we don't need to get what you're saying, the social interaction from our work. And maybe I also, I've been talking about this with a few people, trying to imagine a more gig-orientated workflow. So, in the same way, Uber driver, I want a car. I go to the app and say, "Give me a car." I don't interview that person. I don't have to know that person. I just have to think, well, they've got 4.75 stars. So this Uber driver, and that's their car, and I know the Uber brand's okay. So I know I'm going to get a good car. The Uber guy knows that I'm an Uber regular. I've got 4.75 stars as well. No one said anything bad against me. They know where I'm going to be. They know where I want to go. They come and pick me up. We agree on a rate, and they deliver a service. I go, thank you very much. Here's my money. Have some stars. Maybe we do credit control. I need a credit controller. Here's my work queue. I've got 15 accounts I need chasing by Friday. Who's going to bid me 50 quid a close? And I go, okay, I'm a great credit controller. Give me your workflow, and we end up with brokers brokering units of work. And I could just sit here and go, well, I'll just pick a few of those off. Well, actually, I could do a bit of, not only can I do a bit of credit control, I could do a bit of accounts processing. I can post a few invoices, or I can validate some checks, or whatever else I'm doing. And again, you could just chop those into units of work. And we farm those out via some brokering app. And maybe we do it that way. We break people down, and I could be doing a bit for them, a bit like a VA. We could all be VAs or whatever's.
No, I think. Well, I mean, I already actually use there's two apps. There's Fiverr.
Yeah, Fiverr.com. Yeah,
Upwork. Yeah, Fiverr.com, Upwork.com, and they're what you described, right? So, and if you want a creative or a bit of video content done or something, you stick your gig on Fiverr. People apply.
Yeah.
You look at their ratings and past work. So that's again, like that's a trend that's been happening. The gig economy for sure, and that will accelerate. That's cool, and a lot of people that will work really well, I think.
And you've got a lot of people out there now I'd say not between jobs, but they're between productive work.
Yeah.
So maybe they are starting to think, well, how can I use my talent? What can I do? I've always fancied a bit of photography. Maybe I can upload all my collection onto Getty Images or something. Maybe I can start selling my holiday snaps somehow. And everyone starts creating these gigs and becoming influencers. They're doing product reviews, whatever crazy stuff they're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe
what about the people that do want to go to the office at some point? Because it's always a mix, right?
Yeah.
Like the great thing's choice. Like I think hopefully the thing for me at the end of this is that you get some degree of choice as to finding your most productive working style.
Well, maybe we have to be realistic that the choice may be: do you want to work somewhere, or do you want to work somewhere else? So if you're working for an organisation that is saying, actually, we're going to get rid of the office, you might go, no, I need the office. In which case, there'll be some bricks and mortar, and there'll be some virtual. Maybe what we do is, in the same way that people who didn't want to go to the office had no choice. Maybe what we're saying is, who do want to go to the office have no choice. Maybe we flip the privilege. Maybe we flip and say, actually, you're going to have to get used to it, mate.
That would be interesting. I think
find you want to go to the office, you want to interact, because that's what you've been used to. Because you get your socialization somewhere else. If you was a local co-working, you go out and meet people. You could go and do things socially outside of your home. Maybe you would get the gratification from that and not need necessarily the work stuff.
Yeah, like if you got a nice local gym or something, or a nice yoga sesh, you can go and get your social interaction. The biggest problem though is people always find it hard to get off the couch. Once you're on that couch and you're at home and it's a bit wet and rainy outside, you might.
But that's about motivation. How do you motivate? How do you reward somebody? How do you give someone passion and purpose? So it's adjusting how you structure the reward, isn't it? Do you need as many managers to manage? We've already talked about post-conventional organisations being more neural networks. So we've got the artisan, we've got the self-starting worker who can deliver an output. It's part of a matrix. We're looking sort of agile working, people taking work streams and dovetail them together, and someone brings those together in short sprints, or however you want to do that. But if you're managing people in those sort of ways, then people self-manage. They understand what's expected. If they want to spend 3 hours on the sofa, stop at 10:30 for Popmaster, or whatever they want to do, they can, but they know they've got to produce this output by 10:30 at night or something.
Yeah. Interesting about the. I agree. I think it's fascinating to think about how it will look. I
think about small businesses. So most people in this country are employed in small business below 10 people. I think 95% of the population are employed by small businesses.
Yeah.
Small businesses, business owners, and solopreneurs, they're quite happy creating their own work and doing their own work and being motivated. So we assume that everybody in a corporate world is a lazy git unless they're pushed. And we have this very low expectation of people. But often they're not motivated. They don't have this passion and purpose. They don't understand the goal, or they look at their colleagues and go, "Well, they're not bothering. Why should I?" Whereas humans, by definition, if you look at most of the population, they get off their arse and do something. They've got this mission. They know what they're going to do.
They've got to find their passion, the thing that really ignites them. Yeah, because a lot of people, they're not. They probably have the passion inside them, of course, but they're not passionate about work, because the whole work-life balance. I mean, the opposite of life is death, and everyone's equating work to death. So in your mind, you think, I'd rather not be working. So there's that. You got to find the thing that maybe doesn't feel like work, or you do your work and then you have fun after, which is also fine. It's just finding the thing.
Yeah, I'd like to think this whole experience for a lot of people is going to wake them up to go, actually, I don't need to do that again, or I want to do something different. Obviously we talked about different sorts of people. Some people are really, really busy. Their job hasn't really changed. It's just sitting in a different seat. So there's a whole lot of people that their experience won't change, and they'll just go back to the office, or they'll do what they're doing. But it's the people who've maybe been marginalised through furlough, through their jobs disappearing, through their days being more empty, that have now got more time to think. And I read somewhere, I can't remember who said it, but when someone gets bored, that's where inspiration takes over. When their mind's completely got nothing else to worry about, that's when you get this blue sky thinking going. Maybe what we do is purge people to the point of boredom. And then they'll go, actually, I don't like this. I can do something else instead.
It's right. You're right. It's kind of like every parent wants to try and keep their kid busy with some task. But actually, there's a lot of benefit from just letting them play. Let them be bored. let them be bored and I'll be imaginative and creative. I leave my kids downstairs to play on their own. Often they fight, but anyway, forget the fight thing. They're doing like make believe play. They're just making up roles for themselves, and it's the same. It's the same with humans. The one thing I think about is the young people entering the workforce now, and it'd be so. I mean, I don't think the jobs my daughters are going to do probably haven't even been invented yet. But I think when you're young, right, you go to school, if you go to uni, then you enter the workforce, and no one's prepared you for work. And up to now, I mean, I think you've got to learn how to work, and part of that for me is like get your ass into work, find an amazing manager, leader to work with, because that's more valuable than the job itself often, and learn how to work, how to conduct yourself, how to organize yourself, things like that. How people are going to do that in the future of work, let's say post-COVID, is going to be very interesting.
But many emerging workers, out of their teens or whatever, they're already living in a kind of more gig, a portfolio lifestyle. That they've got YouTube channels, their social presence. I'm generalizing. I mean, not saying every person, but there's a lot more entrepreneurialism, I think, in terms of earning money on the internet or doing something they're doing. Even earning money through game. There's people out there competing in game competitions and combat and stuff online, and they're earning money out of these competitions, aren't they? So,
Twitch, a lot of money. So it's just going to be very interesting. I love it. It's going to be really fascinating to see how all this emerges, the different types of jobs that are created, the different working styles, and hopefully everyone can find their preferred working style and their preferred.
But my big thought is that this kind of thing will generate innovation. It will generate creative thinking. It will generate people who actually think, actually, I can. One thing I've learned as a speaker, someone who speaks to conferences and goes out, is that I was always beholden to the event organisers. Not can I please speak at your event, or not would you pay me? And they held the power. And I'm thinking now, I've got. I'm not saying a huge amount of following. I've got 10,000 LinkedIn connections. I've got good social media presence. I've got good engagement on my posts. I think, I can access more people on a webinar than I ever could on stage. If I end up going to a room with, I might get 400 people in the room, or I might get 50 people, maybe even get 25. This way, I can turn my audience on, and I could build it up. And actually, I could create my own events. I can say, look, friends, how do we fancy doing a morning session in 2 weeks' time? We'll just switch it on, see what happens. We're all doing it for investment. None of us are going to get paid, or we do a couple and go, actually, we can charge £10 a ticket. We get 1,000 people. That's 10 grand for a morning's work. We can do that.
You're free now. You've got a podcast of your own, which you can monetize. You can put amazing content behind a little paywall like Netflix. Hey, charge me the price of a flat white, and I'm there. Like you don't have to charge much. And for sure, for you, it's and others that do similar things. It really frees you.
But the secret is to be different. The secret is not to be face to face, but online. The secret is to be online and make that different. Create some sort of engaging, immersive content that is not just about me sitting there talking to the screen and going.
There's also really cool platforms you can do live streaming on. I'm sure you know all of them, but you can really do some really cool things. I'm just getting into it right now.
Well, I've got I signed up to LinkedIn Live, and I got approved just before it all kicked off. So I was lucky there.
Okay, cool.
I've got LinkedIn Live. So use something like Restream or StreamYard or all these sort of tools. And I use Manycam, which is a multi-streamer, so I can bring different video sources into Manycam and then stream that out. So I've got all these good things to make my content look different. As you say, I've got a green screen, I've got lights, I've got microphones and stuff. So I've got gear.
You've got some cool gear. I'm just upgrading. I'm upgrading now. You're well in front of me, but I've been podcasting quite hard for a couple of years. Now I've just got into this video. Now I've just got accepted on LinkedIn for the live, so I'm going to start doing that. But I'm really excited. I mean, I love generating interesting, relevant content for my audience and my group. And, hopefully people like it and they listen. If they don't, they don't. But I think it's one
brilliant. Person does. You can always refer to it. I think having collateral online in terms of podcasting, blogging, magazine articles, video. If you just got to chop it up into different things, because people consume differently, they consume in different ways when they want to do it. And the podcasts, people listen to podcasts on the train on the way to work. They were going jogging with podcasts. To some extent, I think the podcast market's dripped off. Now we want YouTube, so we can sit in front of the telly and cast it from my phone onto the telly. Now we can consume it that way.
Yeah. But your podcast will be back. The really great thing about all of it, like certainly the YouTube and the video and the audio is before you had to be able to read to learn. Okay? And think of it now. I mean, if you're illiterate and can't read, but you can listen, you can learn. Which is, it's amazing. And you can, anyone in the world with a connection can listen or watch you. Brilliant.
And you can consume it less linearly. I think when you've got a book, you tend to go through it. Whereas you've got video, you can a bit of that dive. You can scrub through it and go, oh, hang on a minute, there it is. Watch that bit. No, don't like that. Next one. And you literally are just pulling bits of source and consuming it in a non-linear, non-start to finish sort of way.
Yeah, it's great. I can actually regurgitate an awful lot of stuff I've listened to. It's great. Because before this happened, I was like commuting on the tube, so I could never read a book. So I started listening to audiobooks, podcasts, and then I was consuming stuff. And it's a great way to do it. And
my trouble is I was doing a lot of Audible, and I do watch a lot of YouTube and things like this. But what I found myself doing was, as I listened to the audiobook, something would trigger in my mind. I'd pick something up, and then I'd drift off into this exploratory daydream. And I haven't listened to like the last half an hour of that podcast, so then I have to go. So I'm listening to like 5 minutes, blue sky thinking it, and then go rewind, try that again.
It's almost like a bit of white noise sometimes. It's in there. And then I drift as well, and I think about something, and then I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm listening to an audio bit. It's a funny one. It's a funny one. Awesome.
But that must be working, because that's why you blue sky think of something, or it triggers you into your thought process.
It just sparks something, and you're like, right, I've got to remember, and then it's just you drift off, and it's great. I mean, I need to. I don't say get time. I don't make the time to actually read proper books much.
No, I don't.
I'm just consuming it on audio and video, which is cool as long as I'm learning something. I mean, it's amazing.
I prefer consuming in that sort of size, my phone screen. So because I can sit, I found if I have a book or something big, I can't handle it. But I can consume 3 inches wide. My eyes lock onto it.
It's weird, even if I've got I have my phone and my computer at my desk, and sometimes I find myself looking at my emails on my phone, not my computer. But why am I looking on my phone? I've got my computer right there.
I think it's because I used to speed read a lot, because I was a technical job, IT. I was always scanning for data, for information, in instruction. I could flick through it and find it. So I think my eyes got used to just reading down the middle of the page and looking for. So the phone is now the middle of the page. So therefore, my eyes can lock onto it.
And it's easy to consume.
Yeah.
Well, great to chat. We could probably chat all day.
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
We'll have to do another one. But thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate you coming in.
No, I've loved it. It's been really good.
Definitely. And good luck with all of your online webinars, seminars, and all of that good stuff.
Coming to a Black Mirror near you.
How can people find you?
Start with my website, seechangehappen.co.uk, as SEE changehappen.co.uk, or look me up on LinkedIn, Joanne Lockwood.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thank you.
See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.